entrepreneurs, creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talk.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another great episode of the CEO Show. For those who are coming in for the very first time, remember this is the show that always brings to you very insightful conversations that are going to bring inspiration, insights, and education. But not forgetting, there are conversations that are going to empower you. Empowering from what? From great individuals, from people who are frontliners in different industries, from different particular businesses. People are going to speak about their experiences. They are going to share their journey from where they began and definitely to where they are currently. And from this conversation, you're going to be inspired, you're going to be educated, and definitely you're going to be empowered. And tonight is not an exceptional show, but a very big and a better show for you. Tonight we have another amazing guest prepared for you who is going to share a lot of insights and what is going to come from his journey to where he is. Let's get the statistics. Talk about more than 350 young people who have been mentored by them. Talk about 6,000 employers, trainers, teachers who have been mentored by them. And not only that, talk about more than 75 books. He's an author, he's a trainer, he's a coach, a lot of hats, and above all, he's a professional engineer, a graduate and a master's holder in engineering. From all those fields, this is a jack of all trades. I don't know. We are going to listen from him, the man himself. That is the CEO of ISAHARA Group Center. This is a great person. Who are we talking about? We are talking about Mr. Patrick Yegon Toroitich, who has come all the way from Nakuru to this great county to share his story. And from his story, we are going to be inspired. Welcome, sir, to the show.
Thank you so much.
Before you introduce yourself, let's remind our listeners tonight that please ensure that, by the way, we are coming to you live on YouTube, Facebook. Please ensure that you share this particular episode for somebody to know that you're watching. And also make sure that you drop a comment and tag somebody for people to know that you're part of this great conversation. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much.
It is great having you tonight.
It's very auspicious that I'm here today.
We've been looking forward to this particular show. Who is Patrick, before you get to know about all the hats that you wear?
No, I only wear five. Only five.
Only five?
Only five.
And somebody is wearing none.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me do it in Kiswahili.
Okay, that's perfect.
That will make it unique.
Okay.
Toroitich Patrick Yegon ni mhandisi, ni mwandishi, ni mshajishaji, ni mjasiriamali, na ni mwanzilishi na mtendaji mkuu ISAHARA Center Group.
I've never heard that introduction, my friend. So all I remember is Muhandis.
So
okay, why did you prefer Kiswahili?
Because I write also in Kiswahili. Yes.
But you're not a graduate of Kiswahili?
You don't need to be a graduate of Kiswahili.
How did you come about to learn all this Kiswahili?
Why was 844 taught to you?
Because it was a system that was it was a government system. That is what we can say.
So in as much as it was a government system, technically Kenyan education system is actually good. You get to learn these things.
Okay.
And it's only that they say you only have one leader at a time, one president at a time. So you can only do one thing at a time. But whatever you choose to do, you can be a master in it.
Okay.
Whatever you choose to do.
Now that was 844.
Yes.
Do you think CBC is much better than 844?
CBC is better.
Okay.
I've integrated both systems.
Okay.
844, we didn't have the opportunity maybe to practice what you are doing and maybe to make the decisions earlier.
Okay.
So for 844, you had to change or you had to make a decision on what you want to pursue after Form 4. But for CBC, you are doing that right from grade 7, 8. You see, they are now choosing pathways.
Okay, now translate what you said earlier in English.
So, Toroitich Patrick Yegon ni mhandisi is actually an engineer. I'm an engineer, electrical and electronics. I'm a graduate of Moi University. They call it Triple E.
Okay.
Ni mwandishi, I'm an author. I've done quite a number of books. Then ni mshajishaji. The one very key term people wanachukia sana, motivational speaker. Yes.
So motivational speaker is
mshajishaji.
Mshajishaji.
Say that.
Mshajishaji.
Okay, good.
Okay, I've tried. That is 8 over 10.
Yes, no,
Okay.
good. Then Mjasiriamali is an entrepreneur. And that is why we are here today.
Oh, perfect.
Good. So ISAHARA Center Group, that is the foundation I'm working on.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I'm so interested now to understand all these. Now, can we go back to your background now? How did you come to achieve all this? Where did you study? How was your background? And now to where to you achieving all those qualifications? Yes,
Patrick Yegon was born in Solai. Solai, Chamasis, Kablelekwa village, to be specific. I studied 2 primary schools.
When we talk about Solai, remember the dam that...
yes, that is what captures people.
Okay.
So, Chamasis Primary School for my 1 to 3, and then Pombo Primary School. Pombo Primary School is actually in Baringo.
Okay.
You know Kiborek?
Yeah.
Yes, it's actually in Baringo.
Okay.
So we border
Mogotio.
I border Mogotio and Nakuru. So most of us can study Nakuru or Baringo. For high school, I went to Narok Boys High School. That was my first school for Form 1 and Form 2. Then Emining High School for Form 3 and Form 4.
Why did you shift from Narok to Emining?
Narok to Emining, very many factors. One was I'm a product of 2007. So in 2007 happened when I was in Form 4. When I was in Form 2.
Okay.
Number 2, I always wanted to be in Emining High School. But I had to prove myself. Number 3, in Narok Boys, at that time we had a lot of issues inside the school. And actually I was feeling that I was wasting the opportunity, one or the other. Yes.
Okay.
But in Form 2 that term, I actually spent 1 month in school. The rest I was studying in a church, ACK, Anglican Church of Kenya. Lenana. The issues.
Okay.
So we have tribal clashes.
Okay.
We have students striking. Mara sijui domi natetemeka moto, mara sijui nini. And we were given something known as father notice. Maipewa kitendo father notice.
We'll communicate. But now the question is, Patrick, now,
yes.
Were you part of the problem or were you part of the solution?
So
as a young person back in school?
Back in school. So what happens is you are trying, let's go to primary, Chamasis. I think whatever you are seeing today is actually the product of that. Okay. I remember when we were being released results, class 3. And my class teacher, Mr. Kagiri, said, if I was in class 8 then, I would have gone to Lenana or the Starry Boys. That's it. Then I went to Pombo Primary School with the same resilience, the same hard work, the same working extra hard and all that. And I did a very big, beautiful mistake. I knew you were asking about mistakes. Yeah. So my JESMA 009, I scored 399. Sijui kama wewe ulifanya JESMA?
Yeah, I did that.
I scored 399.
Out of 500.
Out of 500. Always position 1, position 2 there. And what happened? I said now, if Jesma 009 yenye ni ngumu sana, nimepata 399 na KCPE nitararua. What happened?
Became overconfident.
Yes, that is it.
Okay.
And when the results ya KCPE ilikuja, my neighbor, I remember, told me, congratulations, you have done very well. And I was asking, what have I scored? And she said 338. I told her, no.
That's not my mark.
Yes, young here.
Kuna makosa.
Kuna makosa.
Okay.
But it eventually rained on me that this is actually my results. And I always like that place, the mistake I did. Because right from there, I made a resolution that when I go to Narok Boys High School, I have to be the top student. That was a resolution I made. Yes.
To prove
to just rediscover, restore Patrick Yegon, because I actually liked academics. So my writing journey started in classics.
Okay.
Yes. That is where I knew I wanted to write.
Okay.
Yes. Pombo Primary School.
Patrick, you as a young person, what was your aspirations? Like, who did you want to become? What was the future? Where was the mind in terms of being the future you? What were you thinking about?
Yes. So in class 6, I knew I wanted to write. And I had a very good uncle. He was studying. He's an uncle, but he's young, in class 8. He used to mark my composition. And I remember I used to perform fairly well, but not extraordinarily well. Until, and this goes to the teachers, until one teacher made a change. He came to the school to teach the tuition, the extra remedial. And this guy marked my composition and gave me 32 out of 40. That was the biggest score. And I can promise you, when he was handing over, I didn't drop from that.
Okay.
I think it rejuvenated something. So maybe the other teachers have been seeing this thing, but they didn't actually give me the mark.
Okay.
But when 32 out of 40 settled on my desk, I knew this is it. And I had a mentor in class 8, Anaitwa Maxwell, Kipsang. Salamia kabisa.
Okay.
This guy was actually writing in class 8. And I used to go and see what he was writing. And it inspired that I can actually write. But reading Olekulet, you know Olekulet? It is possible. That was the opener. It's actually possible for you to add kettle and be a scholar. It's actually possible for you to come from Solai and write a book. And from there, when I combined it with Moses series, Barbara Kimenya, the urge was now like, wow, or what can I do to actually construct this? So the first thing I did, I used to write some small scripts, motivational scripts, and I paste them on the wall in my place at my home. Na mamangu ananiuliza, Patrick, hii ni ya nini? Because she also wants to discover, like, how did I think about this? Yeah. But the good thing now is my father was actually a very good academician. He's a military man. But vitabu angekununulia zote.
Okay.
So technically, education-wise, I was good. Niko top 1, top 2, top 3.
So by you to write, it means that you are reading a lot also?
Yes.
Okay.
I was reading a lot.
Okay.
A lot of storybooks. So let me take you to class 8 now. So you have the ambition of saying, what do you want to be? And that is what I want to answer the question.
Okay.
I wanted to be an engineer and a writer. And when you read one of my books, that is bringing out the best out of yourself. It's even engineers that you actually have the theme of today as being out the best.
True.
So when I was being harassed in Arab Boys, because I want to take you there, I was told, Patrick Yegon, say your name in capital letters, make it italics, put a full stop.
That is now monolization?
Yes. Patrick Yegon, like that.
How did you do it?
Just like what I've done.
Okay.
Then what do you want to be? And I told them, I want to be an engineer and a writer. And do you know what they told me? Kijana, hebu fanya hivi kichwa.
Tigiza kichwa.
Tigiza kichwa vizuri. Ole. Unajua huku kulikuwa na mambo tu ya moralization.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's Narok Boy, so you know how the massa is talker. But those guys never saw the engineer in me, the writer in me, because they asked, where do you come from, kijana? I told them, I come from Chamasis, Solai. And they asked me if I know an engineer. I actually didn't know an engineer.
At the back of your mind, you knew
Yeah,
no
not an engineer.
Okay.
And they asked if I know a Kalenjin who has written English or Kiswahili. And I
Thinking
told
of
them,
it again.
I had one.
Okay.
I had a gentleman, Barwet, William Barwet from Eldama Ravine. And actually I came to meet with William Barwet after Form 4. So he had written Joy, the Unwanted Child, and a mathematics revision book. So I told them I know one. And they told me, what do you think you are? And that's the question people ask you there when you tell them their dreams. What do you think you are? Not even who. And I gave them a very simple answer.
They objectify you.
Yes, I give them a very simple answer. I am Toroitich Patrick Yegon. You have not seen a Kalenjin here. You have not seen my village here. You have seen Toroitich Patrick Yegon.
An individual.
And that was it. And today, from that belief, that is what I built. So when I was going to Form 3, Emening Boys High School, I started writing my first book, Along the Wrong Channel. It's here. And Afuata Mkondo Mbaya. Fast forward, I had told you that I had promised myself when I was going to Narok Boys that I'll be the top student. Nikiingia huko nilikuwa number 150 something out of 238.
That is now from your KCP marks.
From the KCP marks. I sweated my friend. And by the time I was, I actually, the term resilience actually resonated from there. I didn't become the top student in my all Form 1. It only happened when I was going to Form 2. That's when I became position 1 out of 238. And by the time I was leaving there, that time, in Kwambia tulisoma for 1 week, for 1 month, I had been promised by the board to have my school fees paid
Fully.
For all 4 years. And I had to make a decision to leave this scholarship or remain here. Yes. And I said, there will be more scholarships. I want to go to Emening Boys High School. And I went to Emening Boys High School.
Form 3.
Form 3, a very good thing happened. My marks has been consistent. It is 2007. So we went for the interviews. And actually my academic results did the interview for me. Completely. So I went there and I broke an history. There is nobody who has transferred from another school na kuja kwa top student in Boys High School.
And talk about top, that is position 1.
Position 1. I broke that history. And I remember the deputy, actually I've published him, told me, my friend, this is unique. This is unique. No one has ever done this, and this is unique. And by the time I was clearing my Form 4, I was the second best student, Mogotio sub-county. So the promise I gave out in my class 8 actually worked. Fast forward to Moi University, I promised myself to do something.
Before, let me interrupt you,
Yes.
Kidogo. Patrick, you talked something about teachers.
Yes.
And you spoke directly to teachers at some point.
Yes.
And you say that class 6 teacher who gave you 32 out of 40.
Yes.
I remember that cliche and a lot of statements that people used to make. Mwalimu wa maths ulisemaje na hapa ni wapi? Do you think what teachers speaking to children and also students have some impact into their lives?
It has. Remember, you have 3 types of minds. You have the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the superconscious mind. What we normally speak so much into is the subconscious mind. These are the conversations we listen from people. They might objectify at that particular instance. Or in Kalenjin, wanasema chololmoy. You might go home thinking about it. And
what was spoken into.
Yes, and it starts sinking. So for me, I have the positives and the negatives. There are some teachers who make comments they don't know. And unfortunately for people, and this is where we make mistakes, even in our own homes, when we want to make a correction to these kids, we tend to criticize this kid. Unfortunately, when you criticize someone, what do? They reject the criticization. They resent against it. So eventually you will not solve the problem. You will attack the person. So these kids, while the teachers are telling us, don't do this, don't do this, hata wewe ni mjinga, hata wewe ni nini, it sinks in the minds. So if you find a student who doesn't have a strong self-drive, a strong self-esteem, that person will be messed up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, having spoken to young people and also these students,
Yes.
now being on the receiving hand, you're these young, and specifically tonight, we might be having students who are watching because
Yes.
some are at home for the afternoon, and even parents who are watching.
Yes.
There are these, you are on the receiving hand. A lot have been spoken to your life, and even people who are in business. Some people have been discouraged. People have been told that you can't do this. When you wanted to write your first book, probably people discouraged you and people spoke negatively about you.
Yes.
How can you now develop that thick skin and also to make sure that what people say into you and also about you will not alter your destiny?
It's about one why. Starting with why clears a lot of things. When you have the right purpose, when you have the right intention, and you have the right self-drive, you have to develop a thick skin. Not immediately, but through practice. And you have to understand it's not about them, actually. It's human nature to not see things. You see? When you are starting entrepreneurial journey, you'll be starting from abstract. So when I was telling people that I'm writing books, I need to produce the books. I'll be running a business which has an engineering, which has a mentorship, which has a corporate training and all those. It was abstract. So the first thing they never saw. But inside me, I know the why. And I have the end in mind. And I know my own personal capacity to actually deliver. So even with their talk, it was hard for them to actually dissuade me or dissuade me from pursuing what I used to do because I knew exactly what was at work. Yes.
Okay.
Now, I want you to know, amidst the negative self-talk, there is also very good mentors. One very good person you listen from there when Pombo Primary School was my class teacher. When I said I want to be an engineer and a writer, he told me, Patrick, you can be anything you want to be. As short as that phrase was, it actually sticked. And then you have other teachers who are doing the positive things. So while you have the negative here, you have the positive here, and now you have to just balance it out and clear. But let's this one stick to you, Sabgain. The fight in the dog is what matters. It's not the size of the dog. Yes.
Okay. Now, let's proceed now.
So
immediately after high school, now you went now to university.
So when I was going to Moi University, right after Form 4, let me go to Form 4. My first mentorship, you say 350,000 students I've mentored. My first mentorship actually happened in Emining High School. How did I do it? I used to teach. When I was in Form 3, I was teaching Form 1 and Form 2s and Form 3s. When I was in Form 4, I was teaching Form 4, Form 3, Form 2 and Form 1. And it was actually allocated. My time will start at 4 a.m. 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. I was writing along the wrong channel there. You see? 5 to 8, I'll be on my own personal studies. But 8 to 9, I was teaching the other kids. When I was sent for some school fees, 2009, Form 4, I went to Muhiga Secondary School. It's just a school next to my place. And I talked to the deputy teacher. The teacher was not there, the principal. And he was kind enough to give me 2 hours to teach students on how business studies is being marked. And he was asking me, are you a professional, are you a teacher or something? I told him no. But I don't want you to tell the kids. Tell to my fellow students that I'm a student, yes.
Okay.
And I did my first presentation for 2 hours. And the guys actually thought I'm a graduate from the university.
On how business
studies was marked, yes.
Okay. Now you are speaking like an examiner.
As an examiner.
Okay.
Yes. That was my first formal mentorship. When I just cleared my Form 4, I have been teaching all along. So my first job, mi napenda ukulima sana. If you have had a look on my YouTube channel, you have seen I have a segment on farming. I do a lot of farming. So what I did, I left the books. Kwanza zilinganganiwa anyway, Meaning Boys, nilipeana zote except one, the English. Nikaenda shamba. So I was doing my beans. And we were arguing with my mother. because it is off season. It is actually December, and she's telling me, why are you doing this? It will actually go to waste. But because I have the ambition of a young kid, young boy, I'm actually so persistent in this thing. So while in the farm, she calls and tells me, I have a phone call. And I tell her, I just brush her. And she said, no, it is serious, come. When I spoke, are you Patrick Yegon? Yes. I have heard about your abilities. Can you teach Kiswahili? I said, yes. Can you start tomorrow? Yes. That is 2 weeks after KCSE. Results hazijatoka.
Immediately.
Immediately.
Okay.
From my history of teaching at high school, my great mentors, anaitwa Mr. Ari Cheriat, actually referred me to somebody who wanted to run a tuition program.
Okay.
December. And that's how I got my first job as a teacher.
How much were you paid?
Don't worry. About 5,000 or 6,000, somewhere there.
Uh-huh.
So I have that now building the CV. Results ikatoka March. And I made a decision. Sasa unajua after form 4 vile mnaenda computer kusoma nini hizo Nakuru City. Usisahau ni city. Ilikuja city before Eldoret.
Yeah.
So I tell myself, Patrick, you're not going home after the results. And luckily it came, I had an A- vizuri, about 79 points. And I tell my guy, a very good friend, naitwa Granton, I'm not going home. I want to go and get a job to teach. Hiyo siku kulikuwa na UT, they are trained teachers.
Trained teachers.
Yes. Nikaenda mahali naitwa Mlima Ugali. Jamaa alikuwa anasoma Tumaini. Ni student form 3. Akaniambia najua mashule tuende huko. We went to the nikadraft letter yangu vizuri sana. We went to the first school. Tukaambiwa mngekuja last week mngepata chance. In fact tulirudishwa na soja. Interviews zilifanywa last week.
Okay.
Jamaa akaniambia I'm very disappointed tuende nyumbani. Nikamwambia no. Show me another school. And that is how I went to Hopewell High School. Hopewell High School, nikafika huko and the principal told me, you are really lucky because you'll be holding the interviews Saturday. So what you do, go home, go and write a letter, ndio urudi. Nikamwambia it's okay. Lakini nikatoka nikatafuta secretary nikamwambia tafadhali nisaidie full scope. Why do I need to go home and write a letter?
And you can do it
and I can do it right there. I just did it right there and I had a feeling that hii nitapata. Sasa hizo nimetrainiwa na Dr. Marigat, S. Marigat, kama unamjua. The size of the dog doesn't matter, the fight in it.
The fight in it is what matters.
So nilienda home Tuesday, nirudi interviews on Saturday. And I was the first person to get into the interview. Na wale wajamaa wangu wawili took up. So the first thing, I was the position 1 to get into the interview panel. But when you ask around, mtu namuuliza sasa unajua sasa tuko wengi hapo, to about 15. Anasema yako alimaliza TP, sasa is trying to get something to be busy. Mwingine amaliza college. All those answers.
All of them were more qualified than you.
Yes. And my guys tells me, Patrick, nafikiria hapa Siningori. Tell them don't worry, let's go in. And I went in. And the best results I'll tell you is on Monday. So we came back, all of us. And the papers zenye zilitoka kwa offices zilikuwa the same. We're actually doing some storytelling, some tales and all that. We are seated all that. But what happened is, immediately everyone saw the letter. They took their own letter. Mi sikuwa najua kitu inaitwa letterhead hiyo time. Kumbe letterhead ni the same, but the contents ni tofauti bro. Yes. So
that's where the difference
that's where the difference is.
Okay.
So out of 15, 10 left.
5 remained.
5 remained, and I was among them. And my guys were like, kumbe ulikuwa unajua hii game.
You had secured the opportunity.
Yes, and from there, I taught Kiswahili.
Okay.
Remember, December I was called to do Kiswahili. So when I went in to the boardroom, they asked me, what can you teach for us? And from my results, I had A's in all the subjects.
Okay.
So I told them I can do any subject. I have been teaching any subject anyway. But they told me, we'll give you Kiswahili. So I taught Kiswahili Form 1 to Form 4. And eventually, because I had a lot of energy, I used to do chemistry, I used to do biology, all those things.
We could cut across.
Yes. And that is how I produced my first book.
Okay.
Ya Kiswahili. Nyota ya kudurusu sarufi na matumizi ya lugha. Hopewell High School. but it was a 32-page document.
Okay.
Right now, you see there, it is 234 pages.
Yeah.
But that is what I went to into the university. And I said now, in my university, I have time and I have energy, but I don't have money.
Okay.
You know 10 factors. TEM. Time, energy, money. When you're young, you have time and energy. You don't have money. Not unless you have inheritance. When you are at our youthful stage, right now you are employed. You have money and energy, but no time for yourself. At old age, you will have your time and your money, but no energy. So I said, Patrick, I have time and energy. So I'm going to the university. I want to do 10 books, 10 manuscripts. Don't even publish them. You understand? Secondly, I want to have second-class upper in my university.
And then you are now going for which course?
Electrical and electronics engineering.
Okay.
My university.
Okay.
I told myself I want to be a sane engineer because when I was moving to the university, I have my very good friend Anita Aristotle, Mr. Chumba Godwin. He told me, let me show you how engineers behave. And he introduced me to a guy, ukimsalamia hivi, by the time wewe unarudisha salamu yeye alishapita ameenda. Because he's focused so much
in mind.
Yes, and I said no, this is not the kind of engineer I want. In as much as I want to be busy, I want to be sane. And I want to be a practical engineer and have the social life, the leadership and all that. So that is the promise I gave myself in first year. Did I achieve it? Sure. By the end of my fourth year, I was actually having 2 leadership roles, Moi University. I was the president of MALP, mentorship, authorship, leadership, and public speaking. And number 2, I was the TSA, editor-in-chief. And in writing, I had my 10 manuscripts ready.
10 of them?
My score, I had a second-class upper. Practical engineer, I was among the 15 first group to make a robot for my university at that time. Okay. That is when robotics was being started.
Okay. Yes. I saw that as an achievement also. You talked about having done robotics and you are the first lot, 15 of you.
Yes.
Having done that. How did you manage that?
So, it's about risk. The opportunity came. Actually, robotics were being introduced at that time. Nowadays, even the class 3 kids will actually do a robot for you. Yeah. So, when this opportunity came, we were in the middle of doing exams. These exams meant a lot of us because umesoma the whole semester. Okay. And you are told we want a team to do the first robot for Moi University. If you want, come in. Okay. And some of us made the decision to actually do that. Okay. And it was a 24-hour thing because we had a deadline of 2 weeks to beat. And this project was being run by the VC at that time. You see? So it happened like that. And when I moved in, now the writing thing actually happened. Yes, we had set, all of us are ready to do something, the technical parts, but somebody has to write instructions for this robot. Okay. And that is where now my writing journey came in. Okay. And I just popped in. So working with the guys, I compile what you have done for the day. I compile the instructions, the manual. That is what you are reporting. Okay.
Now fast forward. Now that was your life in campus.
Yes.
But before now, you talk now about your immediately after campus. How did you achieve the second HAPA grade that you wanted? Yes. But now, what was it that made you choose engineering, electrical engineering, and not probably English literature, School of Education or something, because you had a lot of passion in writing and what have you, and that is doing the Kiswahili, English and what have you, and having written a number of books before even joining campus. But what is it that inspired you now to do something that is totally different from what you, I believe you had a lot of passions in passion in writing. Yes. But what is it that now shifted you to engineering?
So what I realized, Dan, is that actually I'm a multi-talented person. And from the array of talents, there are some which I can quickly kill them. Like writing, I don't have to spend a lot of time learning about it. If I just spend 1 hour in a day, that's enough. I have the passion for engineering. You have to actually go deep before you actually do that. Then you have the mentorship thing and community service. So It is easy, and I think this is actually, if you do a quick YouTube search, most CEOs are actually engineers. It's easy for an engineer to move to management and not a manager to move to engineering.
Okay.
So it was easy for me. If I want today to go to art school and learn about writing, I'll do it very easy. Rather than starting becoming an engineer. So I said, let me first do the engineering thing while I do the others. Then when I now graduate, I can do the others if I want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, after campus, which you have these you have the passion here of writing and what have you. Now you're a graduate
Yes.
From the School of Engineering. Now, what next? Getting into job opportunities. A lot of young people will always like have graduated. I need to be employed somewhere. I need to get a job opportunity. Was it the same for you?
Luckily, I was employed from 2010. Self-employed.
Just before.
Technically self-employed.
Okay.
In as much as I was in school, these talents were actually paying me. And I was having a field in running my professional life as a mentor. Because from my university, nilikanyanga hadi Nandi, hadi Uluyani, hadi wapi. Because actually in the university, you don't study all the time. So when I'm not doing my technical drawings and all that, I have some time, I'll be mentoring schools. From writing, I had my first client were publishing when I was in my 4th year. Now, the last 5th year, you see. So when I was graduating, I was actually confused. And that is what I know you wanted to ask somewhere. I have the 4 talents, and I'm one person. So what do I do? And I was thinking, Patrick, what is your personal mission? And that is something very important. And I saw my mission is to transform the world through technology, education, community service, and entrepreneurship. So what do you need to do? I had to have a common thing to unite the 4 calls. And that is how I born ISAHARA Center.
Okay.
So the same resolution I made when I was leaving Form 4 that mimi sirudi nyuma, nyumbani. Lazima ni hustle huko mbele. It's the same thing I made when I was transiting my campus. Okay. I said, Patrick, you're not going home. You are going to a space to work on something. And what did I do? I started ISAHARA Center. I was just leaving Moi University. In fact, I registered my company in Eldoret.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, going now to ISAHARA and bringing up, because now we need to understand the conversion of the skill and knowledge that you've got in university, and now converting it to be a source of income. Because that's where a lot of people always have a challenge. Yes. We have people with good skills, we have people with knowledge, we have people with talent, but now conversion into a source of income becomes a problem. Yes. But before that now, why ISAHARA?
So one of the biggest troubles entrepreneurs actually have is finding a business name. And I actually looked for that business name. I'll not tell you, it just happened. About 3 or 4 weeks. Because already I have a client who is actually promising to publish with me. Because she saw my books. She has actually submitted her work. I have done the proofreading. I've done everything a publisher will do. But I don't have a company to actually publish. So I was looking at big minds. I was looking at all those. But whatever the name I was getting, it wasn't joining the 4 things I wanted to run in my life. Understand? And one day, when I was just resting in my bed, the name ISAHARA Center came in. I for innovation, Sahara for region. And that is how it came in.
Okay.
Yes.
Now registering, and now how was the first feeling? You now have a company. I don't know, people will go around like, now I have a company. But
starting
now,
a business sometimes is like marriage. Unajipatanga hapo ndani.
Now you are him there. And sometimes it's the conversion bit of it now.
Yes.
Changing this business to be a source of income and also a source of livelihood.
Yes.
How did you hack that?
Now, the good thing sasa yenye mimi nilikuwa nashukuru Mungu and the self-drive, and already I had done these things even before I started the ISAHARA Center thing. So what I was doing was actually packaging what I was doing and putting in now the professional face of it, and value. Because I will find myself I was doing it for free most of the times. But now I have a company to run. I have business, I have bills to pay. So I have now to do what is called value proposition for my products. So I have to package now the motivational speaking. I've been doing it for free. I have to charge something now. You see? The book publishing consultation I've been giving out for free, I now start charging. The engineering, in fact, the engineering rested for 3 years. I'll tell you why. But the easiest quick win was mentorship and writing. So they said a bird in hand is better than two in the bush. Because I already had a client for publishing. I did my first book, and from the launch of the first book, I got another client for the second book. And that is very important for entrepreneurs out there. The word of mouth is the most effective marketing platform you can use. A happy customer means a sustained business for you. Yes. And that is how I generated. Not without mistakes. I'll tell you my mistakes. But the first 3 years, I said, I'll not seek for employment. In fact, people are saying, Patrick, sasa ulisoma engineering ya nini? And I told them, no, don't worry. Si mimi ndo nilisoma engineering. Relax. Yes. What I knew was the same thing, the TM factors. There is a phase in business which needs your time and energy.
Completely.
Not even money. Your time and energy for you to push, to build that name, to work your AS off. Yes.
Okay.
That was the period now I was doing from 2016, 17, and 18. You see? I invested a lot of effort going to all the bookshops. Mimi nilitembea miguu hiyo yote. Nakuru hapa, utaniambia any bookshop, not Nakuru, Eldoret, because hapa ndo nilianzia. Kila mahali, because I was actually selling myself and ISAHARA. And at that time, ISAHARA and Patrick, haingetofautiana sana. But I said, I don't know, because of reading a lot of books and business and all that, I knew there is a phase where you have to work hard for the business. And that is what I was sacrificing. But at that time, people were actually surprised, and the negative energy was coming in. Because you are telling somebody you want to run a business entity with 5 companies. And it's like, are you serious? Because it's an abstract, and they cannot see the dream. They cannot actually understand. Na si ati unapata pesa. You're actually making losses in one way or the other.
Okay.
But because wewe unajua in future, these things will actually come and coalesce and become, Steve Jobs says you can only join the dots going backward. So wewe as an engineer, you have maybe the 10 years, but this other person is not having the 10 years.
Okay.
So that is what I worked from 2016, 17, 18.
Now, about the 3 years now, because whenever you talk to a lot of people, you'll when you talk about somebody, why are you not bringing into fruition this business idea that you have? They'll always speak about money. They'll always speak about money, capital, resources, and what have you. But now your narrative here is is a good one. But now you're talking about energy and time. You get?
Yes.
So for the 3 years you invested in this without money.
Yes.
How possible was that?
It's actually possible by doing this analysis. When you're starting a business, what sector of business are you going into? Are you going into retail sector? Are you going into manufacturing? Are you going into the service industry? The quickest and the safest business to start with for a newcomer is the service industry. What did I need? I just needed to package Patrick Yegon. Already I had written 10 books. Already I had motivated over 100 schools. So it was not new for me.
Okay.
You see? Now, the retail sector and the other entities, at that time, you had to stock a lot of things in your labor premises. But today, if somebody wants to live like Patrick 2016, 17, 18, it's possible because you have rent out shelves. You don't have to have all the retail, let's say,
The whole shop.
The whole shop. You can actually get a shelf and stock your products and sell and buy. There's a lot of programs running like that. So that is how I can tell somebody who wants to start that if you cannot find a service industry where you have your talents, your skill sets, which are ready to be disposed and packaged, you can start small. Yes.
Okay. Now, where did the money bit now come after 3 years?
In fact, I started the reverse because I had a client. I told you when I was leaving for my 5th year, I already had a client.
Yeah.
And she was actually publishing too. And from publishing that one, I got another order. And I got another order. Just from word of mouth and seeing the books. I made very good money at that time. But because I was a novice now in business, that is where I failed. Yes.
Okay, now going forward into now about packaging.
Yes.
Most of us, we always have that challenge. Like, you find that somebody is talking about just a briefcase company, and especially us as young people, we just go around saying that we have this company. But when you're selling your idea, rarely do people buy your idea because of packaging. But here you are, you have this. In fact, the name was very lucrative. ISAHARA Group Center. A young person, a big name. Now, how did you now manage to package the 4 units that you wanted? Talk about technology, talk about services to the society, and even writing and what have you. How did you now manage to package all this and
actually sell
to what it is now?
Let me take you back first to the philosophical point of view, starting with why. People don't actually buy what you sell.
What do they buy?
Why you sell, why you do it. So it was very easy for me to speak to someone who could actually see a writer in me, who could actually see a mentor in me, because I was so passionate and I had the right reasons to do that. It was easy for someone to actually exchange money for what I was presenting as a value. You see, that is the basic thing. I was having the right why, and then having the right products. That actually saved a lot of me. Now, the skill sets, sales. Every entrepreneur should actually know what is called sales, and a USP. USP is unique selling proposition. What makes you sell? If you cannot speak or sell yourself to yourself, don't even go out and sell. Yes, because outside there is rough. But one thing I learned from one of the customers was that a principal told me that the hardest thing you can be told in any office or any space is no. And she asked me, will no kill you, Patrick? And I actually thought about it, and no will never kill you. It will only stop you for that moment. But it tells you this is not the right space. This is not the right way to do it. So coming back to ISAHARA now, because I had been building it on Kenya's way of doing it, so it was my time to learn. What are the professional structures you need to run a corporate training institute? What are the structures you need to run a publishing house? What are the structures you need to run an engineering company? What do you need as in our personal leadership? Before you go to business leadership, you need to build yourself first. So those were the period I was learning those things, and I was packaging. And I can tell you even today as we speak, ISAHARA Center is not complete. Yes. God, I think God gives you the big picture. Then the finer details actually come in. So every now and then I go packaging it and presenting. Then, so I was telling you my mistakes, which is very important. 2017, 2018, 2016. Remember, I started this business with a client, so already I had money. So what did I do? I employed guys on permanent terms very fast. I was doing, everyone I was paying him very well. But that was not actually happening, because in as much as I was using this money, we were not converting value for the products enough to sustain the business.
I think, was it because the excitement that you want to become an employee or something?
Yes, and then you are young and you have money. You don't have experience. You cannot, sometimes you don't foresee. You lack the foresight and the business acumen to run the business itself. So when this money started trickling down, that is when you realize, no. Yes, you have been having a lot of activity. You have been busy, but you're not productive. And that is when reality sank in. But the good thing now about the industry here to publishing, and the tendency that I had multiple businesses, it was easy for me to maneuver around. So when you go to a mentorship at that time, you could easily go with 20,000, 10,000 from a school. And at that time, you don't have a lot of responsibility. You're comfortable. When you go to a school, they pick 20 of your books. That's 80,000. So it was easy to convert it into money. But now came the impact of umaisikia swali kwa shule, what affects businesses. Challenges businesses face.
Okay.
One of it is government policy. I suffered.
You're a victim of it.
I suffered. 2018 going to 2019, I had an order of 3,000 books. Kwa kitu inaitwa book list. And then the CS at that time, Dr. Matiang'i, said, no student will be coerced by any school on what books to buy in their transition. That was it.
Your order was terminated completely.
Yes.
That was frustrating, right?
That was it.
Okay.
And now businesses starts dropping because the policy changed even the school system.
True.
They are not ordering books from everyone. They are actually being delivered to by the government. So the source of money was dropping down.
Okay.
And the reality was thinking very fast that the business is not sustainable. And that is when I changed.
Okay.
So I called everyone, I told them, guys, the business is not sustainable for now. What can we do? Yes.
Okay. Just before now we go to now bringing out the best in you,
Yes.
and that is something that always people have a problem. Like, how do you get to know that you have a potential that you need to maximize? But before that, now, how did you now manage? Here we have a problem. We have a challenge that is from shift and change in government policy,
Yes.
of which you don't have much. You can't do much about it because you don't have any control about it.
Yes.
But now, how did you manage now to change and also to adapt and bringing in another aspect? Because if it was somebody else, it could have closed shop and call it quit and probably go and look for some employment opportunities. In adversity and change, things that we can't change. Sometimes it's about natural calamities. Sometimes it's about the policies, as you've mentioned.
Yes.
How do we come out of it? Because sometimes it does affect our businesses. And some people have closed businesses because of the same change in factors like taxation and what have you, policies in terms of sometimes you are in a rental space in a business. Some changes will just come in and some people choose to close shop. Why didn't you shift out of business?
It was a philosophical point of view that you are lucky to be born, but it's definitely that you'll die. So be prepared.
Ultimately, you'll die.
Ultimately, you'll die. So business, you should know that you can open the space today, and tomorrow it might be closed. But no, sir, it is the space which is closed, but not the business idea. So what helped me to sustain was facing the reality, adaptability and resilience. First, I sat my guys and I told them, the way we are running things and we are a startup will not sustain us. So first of all, we have to restructure our employment structure. And what did I do? I just had a few of us running the business daily. Most of us project-based. If you are an editor, I have a group of about 150 of them. But I don't employ them on a daily basis now. I have a project.
Let's work on it.
Let's work on it. What are your rates? What's your timeline? What is your lead time? Done.
Deliver.
And it worked. That was what I did first. The second thing is I was actually running a service industry at the background. So mentorship, despite kukua MC utaenda tu, so you'll actually survive. And mentorship is very important. By the time I was learning that period, I was now speaking to people who actually saw that I was doing something very noble, but I needed to be taught on some principles. And by that time, those principles were actually starting. One very good friend was the late, now Opel High School director. He once employed me, but he gave me an engineering project later to actually do solarization for his school. And that guy was a super project manager, a super businessman. So he used to tell me those things. And when the reality was starting to sink, sasa ndio naona, kumbe ile kitu wazee walisema is actually the reality. So when such changes happen, you need to be very quick. Reduce what you can reduce, then start again. So that is what I did, basically.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, remember our guest tonight is Mr. Patrick Yegon, who is the CEO of is it ISAHARA or
ISAHARA?
ISAHARA?
Yes.
ISAHARA Group Center. And this is a great person that we are getting a lot of insights from him. Tell us where you're watching from, and also please ensure that you tag somebody to know that you're part of this conversation. And also, if you have a question to our guest tonight, please don't hesitate to comment or drop on the comment section so that we'll be responding in the course of this particular bulletin. Now, Mr. Patrick Yegon, now, how can you define success?
Good.
A good question. How can you define success?
That's defining success. Success is attaining what you actually want. Yes, the ultimate goal you want.
Okay.
Yes.
Why do we have unsuccessful people and successful people? Are there habits that contribute to this?
Yes. One, why should you be unsuccessful? Are you celebrating the progress, or are you celebrating the results? Remember, let's say I'm ISAHARA Center. I'm building something very big. So if today you tell me that I have failed in building ISAHARA Center, the big ISAHARA Center, it's true. I'm not successful. But if you count the products, that is the process, what I've gotten today, which contributes to the bigger goal, I'll be successful. So it actually mirrors on where you are at a particular time. That is philosophical, to tell people the way you define success is different from the way I'll define success. But the ultimate goal is, what is this thing you want in life? And are you working for it? Is the reason you are waking up today, is the action you are taking today contributing to the ultimate goal? Let me give you an example from 2018 now. Remember, we have talked about mentorship, publishing, and community service, but you have not added anywhere engineering. What did I do from 2018? I knew I had to go back and see how engineers actually work for me to come back and run an engineering company. And that is what I did. So for somebody at that time who doesn't know, you could actually say, ISAHARA Center, you may fail. But what was I doing? I was going back to do something which will contribute to the ultimate goal. So that is, for me, success is achieving what you want at the ultimate goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you shape now with your you as a persona? Like, how do you shape now the talk about your character, talk about your identity, talk about your personality? How do you shape it to merge now your bigger picture as a person? Because sometimes we have people who have big vision, big dreams of becoming, but they always have a limitation in terms of their persona, in terms of their personality, in terms of their habits, because habits contribute to what we do.
Yeah.
How do you now shape your personal habit to achieve whatever you want to do?
The first thing you need to understand is what you want. What is the big thing? And then you go back and say, what are the medium goals I have to make to contribute to this particular thing? And the first is personal leadership, which is very important. If you are building on an entity, it means there are some skill sets you need. Can you get them yourself? Yes. Can you do them yourself? Yes. Do they waste a lot of time for you when you do it yourself? If yes, can you be able to delegate, get other people to work with? But you need to understand what is the demand this business is asking. Because if you don't win inside, you will never win outside. Yes. Daily work on self-improvement on a daily basis. That is ultimate. Be a reader. Be a listener. Don't listen to answer. Be a listener. Be a good communicator. And be a lifelong learner. That is the ultimate game. Be willing to listen to people telling you of the foresight, telling you of what they need to do. That is how you can build yourself. Number 3, now develop what is called grit. Greatness requires internal toughness. That is a phrase which was shared by Safaricom. But grit is made of 2 things, the passion and the perseverance. For you to make your life very easy, let your success be aligned to your passion. And now build yourself to be strong and resilient, to be persistent. If you can be able to build the 2, your passion and perseverance, it makes it easy for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now talking about building perseverance and resilience, most people will always try to give up as soon as they try something and they find some obstacles or challenges. How do you bring? Nobody was born let's say a resilient person or a persevere, somebody who can persevere. But how do you bring out now the perseverance in you? How do you bring out resilience? Are there things that you need to keep on doing, or what is it that builds perseverance?
Good. In my book, Grit for the Road, I've given out a very good example that while going from Chamasis to Pombo Primary School, I had to learn how to ride my bicycle. I was gifted a bicycle Raja by my father. And I'll tell you, Dan, even if you have a PhD in riding a bicycle and you have not actually rode one, you'll never do it. And that is where the problem comes in. Most of us want to be perfect, to be fluent. We have something we want to add so that we start. But life doesn't respect that. Life respects action. So for me, I always use that principle. The only way I could learn about riding a bicycle was actually by cycling one. For a moment, I'll fail and I'll feel the pain and I'll want to give up. But I remember the yearning that when I'm perfect about riding this bicycle, it will be a gift for me. And what do? I go back and I cycle. And the only way to learn to balance is to actually to cycle. And that is how life actually behaves. And Albert Einstein has given us a very good quote about that. Life is like a bicycle. The only way to learn is by actually cycling it. The only way to master your skills is by actually doing it. You make mistakes today, you pick yourself up, you go.
Okay. And another thing that came out from your what you said just recently is about now communication.
Yes.
Like you need to learn the art of communication. And in connection to business, what you mentioned is you can never sell what you cannot sell to yourself. Now, art of communication is one key aspect in business. And somebody say that when you want to hide something from Kenyans, you hide them in books because we rarely read. Now, how did you master the art of communication and being an author and somebody that you've written a number of books? How important is communication and learning the skill of communication? Because this is a challenge to most business and entrepreneurs. How can somebody learn the art of communicating? And I like the quote that you mentioned, that listen a lot, not listen to answer.
Yes.
Yeah. How can you bring up a master in communication in business?
Let me take you back to something. I was reading something about food. And it says, a quarter of what you eat actually makes you alive. And 3/4 of what you eat makes the doctor alive. When you bring to communication, 90-something% of the business you do is actually communication. The rest is actually the product. Because first you have a product. How many of us have products? 1,001 of us. Many of us. But why do we go and say, tunataka Omo, while we want Ariel? Because somebody in the communication strategy of Omo has actually worked to advertise that. Unaenda unasema nataka Coca-Cola ile ya nini? Ya Minute Maid. You understand?
Because Coca-Cola is in the mind.
Yes. Somebody has actually thought about it and he has done a lot of research to actually place this thing into your mind. They have made it obvious. And that is the art of communication. And communication doesn't happen by words. It also happens the vibration you have. If you have read somewhere that you actually vibrate, and if you have positive energy, whenever you're presenting, whenever you're communicating, you can actually attract people to actually buy to what you're doing. That is the essence of communication. How can you master? Number one, you actually need to be honest with yourself. And for a Kalenjin man like me and you, I'll tell you, do not count your cows using the horns. Count them using the tail. It will tell you the reality. The assumption on that case is that all the cows have horns. If you are counting 10 cows, you'll have 20 and I have 10. So as a businessman, you should know that this is something I'm lacking in and I need to work on. YouTube University, I'm a YouTuber myself. And YouTube University has the best content you can ever listen to. Yes.
It's about choice.
It's about platforms, the choices. At a squeeze, at a TikTok, you actually have experts teaching about communication.
True.
So spend some time to learn these things. And where you have some problem, and you see this one you cannot easily solve, leverage. Leverage. Don't be a face of the business where you see you lack. Import somebody to do this for you. Yes. Remember, the business idea is yours, but you're running an entity for the universe. So it's not all about you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Knowing now about potential, bringing up the best potential of you.
Yes.
I remember what Monroe wrote at one point, that where the greatest talents and the greatest gifts are always in the cemetery, because people died before exploiting their potential.
Yes.
Now, how can one bring that is exploit his or her own potential in whatever he does? And talk about, for you, you've written a number of books, more than 8 now, and that is an exploit. You're so strategic in what you do. You've talked about mentorship and you've done it. A lot of people will always have this challenge of just doing it for the sake, being neither warm nor hot.
Yes.
But bringing out the best in you is always a challenge. How can one do this?
So point number 1 is intentionality. Are you intentional in your journey? And it starts again, you go back to why. Why do you want to be an engineer, Patrick? Why do you want to have a project management master's? Why do you want to write books? So the first is establish the correct purpose for whatever field you want to pursue. It might not be the career you want it to be. You see? Maybe you want to be an accountant. That's okay in future. But right now, you have a platform to be a cashier in a restaurant. You actually need to work as a cashier with the right intention that one day, this is what I want to be, an accountant. So when you have the right why, you have inputted the right purpose and the right motivation. Motivation is two-way, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation, like money and all that, will push you, but it's not so much like intrinsic motivation. Secondly, you need to be intentional about the journey. Developing grit, developing perseverance, it's not easy. Some of these books are written for 8 years. It's not easy. But you have to actually be intentional in your journey. Number 3, you need to be strategic. I always ask when I do corporate training to teachers, to business people and all that, I ask them, how many of us have read the 5-year strategic plan for this company? And they raise up their hands. But you ask them, how many of us have a 5-year strategic plan for themselves? No one actually have it. Because we don't translate the personal development to business development. So you need to sit down and have a strategy. Not because you will get everything. Even in Proverbs 16 says, the plans of a man are many, but the plan of God is actually justifying this. But when you have that strategic plan outlaid, it leads you to what you want and what you want to achieve. So for example, on a personal capacity, my plan is actually to have a PhD because I want to be consultant, I want to be that, you see. But you have to build it. How long does it take to have a PhD in Kenya? Maybe 3, 4, 5 years, you see. But you have to have a master's, you have to have a degree. So you see, this is 5 years, 6 years, 10 years of your time. What are you going to do to build the micro small me? Then build a network. There is a time to run, there is a time to walk alone when you want to do things fast. But when you want to do things deep, you have to come and work with people. So no, align yourself with people who actually support your goal and run away from negative people. In 48 Laws of Power, it says, do not associate with negative energy. Because I said the other time, nature is actually vibrating. So the moment you have people who are telling you this one is not possible, this one is not possible, it easily discriminates you. Regroup with strategic people, because it says that if you are meeting, if I meet 5 friends and 4 of them are thieves, then automatically the 5th one, you are the 5th thief.
You're the 5th one.
Yes.
Okay.
And lastly, position yourself for excellence. Many of us actually lose opportunities because we don't want to move out of our cocoon, the comfort cocoon, and position yourself for excellence. Tunasema in Kalenjin, Cheblaske, we see that if we move out and we say, I want to start this, it's like
pride is,
yes, yeah.
is your portion.
But the reality is, then if you are driving there and you see brown cows, white cows, will you stop your car? Nothing strange. But if you see a purple cow, what will you do?
You'll have to alight.
Yes. And that is about positioning yourself for excellence. If today we have a problem in your company, what is the chances that the CEO or the director will actually choose you to solve that particular problem? It depends on how you have positioned yourself for that excellence. Yep.
There are some people even, they won't be mentioned when it comes to solution.
Unfortunately, there are some people who will die and no one will cry.
They'll be celebrated.
No, they are not remembered. They didn't leave any legacy. They didn't leave any input. They didn't. Walikuwa tu. Yes,
they were neither there nor here.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think even the Bible doesn't want that kind of people.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to. You are either warm or cold.
Yes.
You have to choose one.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, just to before I proceed, just to appreciate some viewers who are coming in and also who are part of this conversation. Just saying, Johnny Mutama, who is saying is very tuned in. Then Gerald Bitok is saying that this is a great show. And then Winnie Chebs is saying, great show, bro, continue for it. And then Cherunya Kiplagat is saying that this is inspirational all the way from Finland. And then also we have Justas Mogotio, who is saying that he's tuned in from Nakuru City. And then Toki Kosgei is showing some serious fire emojis. And then Elvis Imiu, from Tamu Events, is saying that this is amazing. And then also we have Arapto Yoi, who is saying that this is a great show. And then Mwalimu Hilary Kerio, who is saying that nice one watching live. I've been hosted sometimes back, Patrick Yegon, in his show. And let me tell you, Maina, Patrick is a different germ. Kazi safi sana wako. Thank you so much, Mwalimu. And then also we have Judith Jones, who is saying that great show watching live from Nairobi. And then Engineer Toki Posgay saying that this is a great show. Please tell us where you're watching from. And also, if you have a question from or for our guest tonight, please ensure that you drop on the comment section so that our guest will be in a position to answer in the course of this particular episode. And also, what are some of the lessons that you are getting from our guest tonight? I'm sure you are not only watching, but you're also getting some serious lessons. Myself, I'm learning a lot. I'm a student, not an host tonight. Patrick, talking about now, you studied engineering, and now you're doing all this. You're an entrepreneur and going to an extra mile of being a coach and also a trainer, for that matter. What do you think about people who leave employment for business and entrepreneurship? And sometimes there are people who have lacking or they have potential in profession, that is in what they do, being employed. But there are some people who choose to leave employment to come to practice self-employment. What do you think of the same?
So, business acumen and the choice to be an entrepreneur is a choice you have to make when you are very sober. And if you're not sure, go back and sleep and wake up, take another 24 hours, take even 1 month to think. That is part one of the conversation. Part two of the conversation, you can choose to be a doctor or have a business in the business of doctors. You can choose to be an engineer or have a business in engineering. You can choose to be an accountant or have business in accountants. Yes. So it's actually very possible to transit. But the first thing you need to do is to make that ultimate intentional choice that this is what I want to pursue. Because entrepreneurs, what you see when they are successful is not what you see at the ground when they are working on it. Yes.
Where's the difference? just pinpoint. Where's the difference? Vitu kwa ground ni tofauti.
Yes.
What makes it so?
If you can wake up today and you don't see tomorrow, you are not sure about the rent, you are not sure about the payment, you are not sure about if you are actually selling these products or not, and you can be resilient to bounce back, then you'll be an entrepreneur. But if you want the comfort of security, don't try entrepreneurship. Yes. If you are willing to sacrifice 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years working on something abstract, that is the art of entrepreneurship. Before people actually sit down, and I'm happy that you read Mr. Justus Mogocho. That was the person who actually mentored me so much.
Wow.
Because for him, he's also an entrepreneur and an engineer. So that was an example. He was seeing what I was doing, and as an entrepreneur, he actually understands. So entrepreneurship is an art of taking the idea. So you need to start from there. You are taking something abstract into something which can make profit or loss. So you need to integrate the risk matrix inside there.
Okay. You've talked about now Mwalimu, that is just as being your mentor. Now, many people will ignore the aspect of mentorship and they run their own race and craft their own path. But how important is a mentor to a business? Because you've done mentorship to a lot of people and at the same time to students and what have you. But now, how important is it for somebody in entrepreneurship or in profession to have a mentor?
Dan, I know you are the host, but I want to ask you this question. How many times do you normally tell God, I wish these 24 hours could have been 27?
Many a times.
Because you have a very short time. Time is too short to learn from your mistakes. And you don't have the luxury to do mistakes. All of them.
They say experience is the best teacher.
My friend, some experience can make you in trouble. Why should I learn from my own experience when I've seen what you have done? And you told me, hey, Patrick, 5 years ago I was here. And this is what I did, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one messed me. You can actually deviate from this as quick as possible. So one thing mentors actually do, those who have genuine love for what you're doing, they give you the foresight you have not seen, because they are giving you the experience you have not been able to have an experience of it. And if you are to go into the same mess, you will fail. And a failure will take you back another 1 year or 2 years. So learn from their own mistakes, because you don't have the luxury to do that. Number 2, leverage their insights so that you can improve what you have. You can build. And I told you, you need to be a lifelong learner. So when these people see, they actually get to give you more and more and more. But something importantly is that listen, but make the decision yourself. The buck stops at you as an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Yes.
From the way you talk, do you fear failure?
No. Yes.
What gives you confidence to face failure? Because you can't avoid it.
Perfect. So do I fear failure? No, it has to come. Every one of us will be stressed that failure is coming. But what I normally do nowadays is try to be strategic and do what is called risk mitigation. When this failure comes in, how will I respond? See? There are some which will meet you flat-footed. Hii unasema hii yenyewe nimegongwa hii. Hii hakuna namna hii ilienda. Then there are some which will come and you'll see. You'll see it coming. You'll see the business is actually dropping. You see? Yeah. Okay. So as a business person, on my personal capacity, I don't fear failure, because in engineering training, engineers solve problems. And when you don't have problems, you actually create problems. So do you fear failure in a problem you have created?
You can't.
You can't.
You have to face it.
You have to face it.
And provide solution.
Yes.
Okay, just ignoring, other than now the government policy that came,
yes,
we were doing books, have you ever encountered failure in business?
The first one I told you was actually being overzealous without the insight. You see? Then we have deadlines. We have the employees. Human nature, my friend. Managing one person, 2, 3, 10 is not a very easy job, especially for a novice. Yes.
Okay.
So personal relations, Those are some issues you have to actually work with.
Okay.
And finally, now, sometimes you are doing so good and you have a lot of projects. And sometimes you might end up over-promising the clients.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I know that is a topic that we can go into details with, and I'm seeing that our time is much spent.
Okay.
Now, what's the difference between motivation and inspiration, or mentorship and inspiration?
Okay.
What's the difference between the two?
To be motivated is I have a reason why I'm doing something. And it can be external, intrinsic. I want to go to heaven. That's why I don't sin. That's an external motivation. I'm working hard so that I can have money to build a home. I'm going to Australia so that I build a home to my family. That's an external motivation. I have an internal motivation that this is what I want for Patrick. I have a desire. The biggest desire of human beings is actually to be appreciated, that they are doing something. So I have a desire that one day somebody will read my book and say, this is good. That is motivation. Inspiration, you get inspired by what people are doing. It gives you the rejuvenated energy to pursue what you want to do. So I can listen to your story, Dan, and say, this is actually inspiring. And actually, Dan is one serious guy. This square is actually inspiring. That is an example of inspiration. Yes. Yes.
Okay. And now, just to take you back, what is it that you wish to have been told immediately after high school that you were never told?
I had it being told to someone else. When we were making the decision to do the Kiprobo, the robot for Moi University. And the guy called his brother. And he said, what should I do? We have an exam today. And we have this project to do. And the brother gave him a variance. You are young enough to risk more.
You're young enough to risk more.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that is what inspired you at some point.
Yes.
And you kept on risking.
Yes, risk.
Is life a risk?
Even you can die inside a blanket. Yes.
And somebody say that everything that we do is always a risk.
Yes.
Even when you're traveling, you risk
Even
an
breathing.
accident.
Yes.
Okay.
But the good thing is that it is a risk. Risk means it's uncertain. So we have a probability factor. 0.99% chance that it will happen.
Okay.
But we have the chance that it will not happen, 50-50. Yes.
And somebody is it physics when talk about now the risk and return, not even physics, it's economics.
Yes.
And talk about now the risk and return, and the higher the risk, the higher the rate of return. How true is it to you? Are you a risk taker or risk averse?
So from the version I told you that he was told you are young enough to risk more.
To risk more.
There are dynamics when you are doing risk. You have to look at what is the skin in the game. Skin in the game means what are you losing? Yes. Are you gaining more or losing more? Is it a learning experience or something? So you need to look at the dynamics and see what is it that you are risking. And you need to do what is called intelligent risk taking. It's not about just being stupid. There's a difference between being risk taker and being stupid.
What's the difference? Or stupid is stupid. Okay.
You need to sit down and actually analyze. I wanted to tell you something when you want to close that. Compounding, you see? I've been telling people, I want you to retire with 20 million. And people are like, how am I going to do that? And I tell them, save 3,500 shillings for the next 35 years or 30 years. And somebody tells me, but 30 years is too long. And I ask them, can you sit down today and look back 30 years? It actually happened. So if you decide to take this today for 10 years or not, 10 years will go.
Are you saving the 35 shillings?
3,500.
3,500, I mean?
Yes, the difference now, do you know why motivational speakers are being hated? Because they say we don't do what we say.
But there is some truth to it.
But I actually do what I say. Yes.
So you save 3,500 every day?
No, not every day. Every month. Every month.
Oh, every month.
Yes,
Sorry.
just do every month.
So when you do that in the next 5 years, you're a millionaire.
You are not a millionaire. You have 21 million.
21 million.
Something else.
Okay. So you retire happy.
Yes.
Okay.
For me, the 20 million is very important. Do you know why? When you are saying 10 factors, time, energy and money. We said when you are young, you don't have money. But done. Your father may not have left something for you. I'll not blame you for that. But if you don't leave something for your kids, I'll blame you for that.
That is gross.
Yes. So for me, when I talk to people, I tell them, retire with 20 million. Do you know why? Because I'm looking at an interest rate of 12% per annum on a dividend shares. It will give you 1.2 million, no, 2.4 million. 2.4 million you divide by 12 months. You'll be living a lifestyle of 120,000 in your old age. Will you disturb people?
Which is comfortable.
Yes.
Okay. And you can leave something to your to the next
Even
generation.
if you don't trust. In fact, the Bible says, a good man will leave his property to the children of his children.
Yeah.
Even if you don't trust these children, what do? You establish a unit trust and tell them, let not the capital be withdrawn, but they can withdraw the interest.
Okay. Now, because I see our time is much spent and we wish to have more of this conversation. But
Yes.
now, this show can't end without speaking about, you are an innovator. You talk about robotic, that is doing the same back in campus.
Yes.
And technology is taking a huge place in business currently. And some business have closed down because of failure to adopt to time and age and even innovation and technology. Yeah. But now, looking forward, 10, 20 years later,
yes,
there is now the upcoming, AI is taking, people are not even doing a lot of reading and research and what have you because AI is there. Where is the risk with innovation, and how important is it to upscale innovation in any business or anybody's business?
In 2022, I wrote an article for IEEE. And in fact, I was voted the most well-read article for that. It was Smart Education for Smart Cities. The reality is IoT, IoTT, AI, now ChatGPT, all those are actually part of the business enterprises.
How can you leverage?
It's upon you now to actually stop. The other time we were fighting technology because we knew it will take our jobs. But you need to be a master and expertise. Master these AI technologies so that you'll be the one providing expertise on the technologies. That is, I'm speaking for an employee. Don't be worried. Master the technology, use it. Number two, as a business, you are talking about cost reduction in your business entity. See how you can adapt to this and position yourself in the right manner to maximize the technology. If you are an engineering company, for example, you are running, let's say, a municipality maintenance. I'm a maintenance engineer. You are running a municipality maintenance system. Why don't you include the IoT so that you can actually see the real time? You can monitor the conditions of these machines at real time. If you are a business entity running that, it means you are saving time. You are saving your technicians' times. You see? Let's see copywriting skills. How people are doing adverts nowadays. Kitambo, you had to pay maybe somebody to do actually the dancing and all that. But nowadays, people can actually do some innovation, and they are missing the word. They actually create the idea, and you have something like a cartoon, animate. That is the term. Yes.
Okay. Yep. So it's something that you can't avoid.
Start adapting and resilient.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, as we wrap this conversation,
yes,
what is it that you can tell and you can speak to these young entrepreneurs about the future, and as you also speak about the future, you yourself 5 years later, 10 years later, where do you want to see yourself?
Okay, good. So, the viewers, thank you so much for making time for this interview. It's been amazing being with Dan. Thank you so much. One thing I'll speak to the entrepreneurs is, do not wait to be perfect to start. Nature is a respect of action. have that business idea, have the big picture, but start. I always tell this to my writers when they come, obviously, to ask me, Patrick, how did you start writing a book? And I always tell them a very simple, mundane answer, that start with the first sentence. And I wish you could get the opportunity to actually see their responses. They are like, what are you saying? But the reality is, when they start the first sentence, the second sentence follow, and the third does. And they have a paragraph, and another paragraph, and a chapter, and chapters to a book. So that is how business are built. Start where you are. Know the classification of business you want to go into. And if you can start with the service industry, you don't need a lot of things to do that. Nowadays, you can actually work from anywhere. Package yourself, present yourself. Importantly, start with the right why, because people will buy why you are doing it more than what you're doing it. I'm not telling you to be lazy in your product development. Come up with those prototypes, test as much as possible, but remember to get the right why. And finally, be the purple cow. Have your USP. What is your unique selling proposition as an entrepreneur? You are in a competitive world, that is the reality. But I want you to operate from the blue ocean strategy. Don't compete with the red ocean strategy. What am I telling you? Is there a way you can actually outdo the competition that the client doesn't actually need to see you as competitors? That's for you, the entrepreneur. For anyone else who wants to achieve their dreams, the biggest lesson I'll tell you today is start with the end in mind. See the big picture and work on it daily. And every day you wake up, ask yourself, is the action I'm going to do today contributing to the ultimate goal I'm chasing? And for me, in the next 5 years, the first thing I'll tell you is today, I want you to go and contribute to the success of my YouTube channel, because I'm working on building Toroitich Patrick Yegon. I have about 2.2 subscribers. I know today if you choose to do that, we are going to do to 3K subscribers. I want to have 1 million people influenced, impacted, either directly or indirectly from the actions I'm doing. That is the biggest thing I want to do.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That was quite conclusive. But now, where do you get your books?
Oh, good. So we have books. One, we are running now ISAHARA Center Group. You can actually reach out to us at 0703-673865. If you go to Facebook, you go online, you'll have ISAHARA Center Group and ISAHARA Book Publishers. You can go to Nuria bookstores. You can actually get our books there. You can go to Zania, which is a digital platform. You can get our books there. You can go to all the bookshops next to you. So long as you go there, you have a title you want, you tell them it is from ISAHARA Book Publishers, they'll always call us and we'll deliver the book. And finally, we have people who move around to do deliveries and we organize. This is a digital world. Whenever you order, we can actually deliver. If you want to publish with us at ISAHARA Center Group, drop us an email at isarabooks@gmail.com or 0703-673-865.
Okay.
For mentorship, you can actually call directly that number 0703-673-865, or you can meet now the ground people who actually run the program. So you have a program officer, for example, Jacqueline Talam, who has been instrumental. We have people like Hilary Chepkirion, who is a partner. Yes. So you can talk to them in our Facebook platforms. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was nice having you, and it was quite insightful. And that is the main aim of this show. I'm sure we could have part A, part B, and part C of this conversation, but we're looking forward to host you and to have you in the near future. And thanks for creating more time. I think just to mention one comment that I've seen here, and I know there are many, but let me just pick on here. Shadrach Komen is saying that he's watching live from County 044. A great insightful message from Mr. Toroitich Patrick Yegon. Good work done. Keep it up. Thank you so much, guys, for keeping it locked, this particular bulletin and this particular episode that we've had tonight. I'm sure that it has been very insightful, and not only insightful, but also very educative. Personally, I've learned a lot. What is it that you've learned tonight? Please drop on the comment section. What is it that you've learned from this particular show? Because the aim and the end objective of this particular show is always to provide something that is very educative to you and very motivating and definitely very inspirational. And we've got it from the horse's mouth. We could not have this conversation anywhere else but on the CEO show. And the question again is, what is it that you've learned? Myself, I've learned that you can never sell to something what you cannot sell to yourself. What is it? What is your question? What is your lesson? What is your take home? That's very important. Remember, I was your host, Dan. I want to see you again next week with another amazing guest on this particular show. See you next week. May God bless you, and may you have a good night. Thank you.
Good.
Is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business Minds, pioneering and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show.